welcome back to Trots TV. It's time to have a look at On Trial for the week, where we have a look at the trials that are run across New South Wales and try and find a few winners going forward. We're going to start with the Menangle trials from last Tuesday. So that was the 13th of October, and I know I've already highlighted Flight Path last week, but I want to highlight another horse that went around in a later trial, and this was in trial number 3, a horse called Major Flair. Now, Major Flair would be one of the best bred horses racing in New South Wales at the moment. He's out of a mare called Warrawee Flair, who's a sister to Sunshine Beach, who's on the Alabar roster this season. So impeccably bred. Now, he hasn't done much in his short career. He's had the 7 starts and he's yet to place. However, I think on the back of this trial performance, we can follow him with a bit of confidence going forward. He's a really big horse. He's a mammoth lump. He's had the 7 starts, as I mentioned. Now, 3 of those have actually been away from Menangle, Newcastle, and I think he's had a couple at Goulburn. I think he's going to be best suited at Menangle going forward. In this trial, he worked to the front in the middle stages. The first half of the trial was very slow, but he's really impressive in the straight. He travels to the line full of running. He runs 157, which is not overly quick for Menangle, but the final half was good, 57, and up the straight in 27.8. So I think we can follow Major Flair, especially when he finds himself in a weak CO going forward. So that's the first one out of the Menangle trials last Tuesday, the 13th. Now let's turn our attention to Newcastle on the 14th, and I want to have a look at trial number 1, the performance of a horse called Strathlachlan Andy. Now, Strathlachlan Andy doesn't actually win this trial, but runs 3rd, and I think we should keep an eye on him because he's headed off to Queensland for a couple of Q races before heading back to New South Wales to compete in MO races at Tabcorp Park, Menangle. Doesn't show any speed in this trial, works or drops straight out into last position, but geez, impressive in the last little bit. He settles back in the 4-horse field, doesn't make his move until he's in the back straight, and when he does get up near the leaders, he's actually forced out 3 wide. Matthew Harding, he eases back and he actually drops back in for some cover, and Strathlachlan Andy up the straight does it so comfortably and isn't asked to extend at all. The time was great. They went 1:55.3 for the mile. The last half was 58.1 and they got up the straight in 29.1. He looked like he could have pulled out and gone into another gear. As mentioned, he's got races in Queensland penciled in for him, and then back to Sydney to win his MO. But I think they're going to have some fun with Strathlachlan Andy. He was the Carnival of Cups horse last season, and he's going to add to his bank account very, very quickly. So follow him with confidence. He was racing some nice horses too in that trial. Strathlachlan Andy taking on a couple of the Shane Tritton runners. So make sure you follow him with interest going forward, and you might have to keep an eye out on the Queensland fields as well on a Saturday night at Albion Park. Also, last Wednesday, they had some trials at Penrith. So this is the 14th of October, and this is trial number 4. A horse by the name of Immortal Glory. Very impressive winning a trial, and Chris Geary takes the drive. Worked forward without being bustled and was able to work to the front in the trial. And then once it found the top, he just rolled along and did it as he liked. Super impressive. He only had the 1 start. That was at Newcastle. He finished 2nd in the race back in July. Now, he was beaten about 6 metres in that race, but more importantly, he beat the 3rd horse quite comfortably. So I was pretty impressed with the debut run, even more impressed with the trial. He's trained by Bruce Fox. He was driven in the trial by Chris Geary, as I've mentioned. He looks to do it so comfortably from the front. He's never really in any danger, and if anything, Chris Geary was pretty kind to him up the straight, and just let him coast up to the line. The mile rate was good. He went 2 minutes 0.3 for the short trip. He ran the final half in 59.6 and got home the final 400 in 29.3. Watch for him to open up his winning account pretty soon. He looks like he's got some ability. Immortal Glory, although he looks to be very, very strong rather than very, very speedy. So he might be able to bully his way to the death in a couple of weak races and win as he likes. So the horses that are going on trial this week, we've got Major Flair from the Menangle trials on the 13th of October. On the 14th of October, I want to go on trial with Strathlachlan Andy, who was super impressive despite running 3rd in the trial, and then go to Penrith on Wednesday the 14th, and I'm pretty keen to follow Immortal Glory out of trial number 3. That's on trial this week. We'll be back again next week to see if we can find some more winners from the trials across New South Wales.